Hello and welcome to this tutorial for LEGO Harry Potter Years 1 through 4. In this tutorial we are doing the lesson 2-3, having started in Polyjuice Potion. So starting from here, what you would have done immediately after you leave Polyjuice Potion, you kind of start something like this. So Ron will be on Justin Finch Fletchley, or Harry, it doesn't matter. And then whatever happens, the other player will be near the door. Normally you'll have both characters on the Wingardium Leviosa spell at this point. In which case, leave the room whichever player is closest to the door, and with that same player, you're going to do a Lumos jump over this way, just to jump over that railing, and then go through the door here a bit quicker. And then you will make your way over to this room, nice and simple, with player 1. And then with player 1, we have a kind of technical trick to do in this section. The trick in this section is known as trophy jump. It's definitely worth going for, because it means it's a lot easier to kind of open up the statue on the left, and you're not having to worry about also opening up this side. But what you want to do is you want to Lumos jump up to kind of this point here, in between the trophies. And then you want to be running forwards right here. And if you're running forwards, you can then activate Lumos. And then from activating Lumos here, you want to let go of forwards, jump, and then kind of re-grab it, or re-hold kind of up and slightly right. You can even just let go of forwards now. Jump, and you want to position yourself on the left trophy, which is this one here. And then from here, it is, you kind of want to make sure you're fully on the trophy. But then it is a Lumos jump over to the left, and you're re-grabbing that for a buffer jump to be able to make it over here. So if I show that again, so Lumos jump up to this spot, activate Lumos, jump onto this trophy, and then Lumos jump to the right. It will take a bit of practice. This is a difficult trick to practice, but as you can see, I just messed it up. But if you want, you can kind of get a running start on this trophy. But the one thing to note is you can't run off the edge and then Lumos jump. You have to be kind of quite central to be able to get a Lumos jump off of it. But once you've done that, go through the door here. And then we're greeted with this camera pan with Crabbe and Goyle. And the whole goal of this section is very simple. Making our way over to Crabbe and Goyle themselves. There is an object in the way, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to move both players here. And what we want to do is get rid of this here. So we get rid of the green smoke by using this magic item here. And the quickest way of doing this is actually to try and force this to be done with player 1 rather than with player 2. Player 2 is further in front and spawns closer, but it's quicker if you do it with player 1. And the way you do that is a little bit of manipulation. So basically you want to make sure player 2 is targeting this lamp, because player 2 will always come into target with this lamp first. And while player 2 is in target with this lamp and both characters are on the move, player 1 will actually move to the next available target, which in this case is the pipe that we want. So by running both characters up here, I'll show it from where the room starts. By running both characters up this way, what you can actually do is wait until P2 targets the lamp so you can see the target, and then player 1 can then use the targeting on the pipe. And then of course that then means that when the pipe is finished, player 2 can instantly run and kind of be closer to the cutscene trigger, so they can trigger it immediately, basically. So you can then hit the cutscene trigger like so. So once the cutscene finishes, or you skip the cutscene, whatever, you then go into this door here to start the level. This is the only level which does not start with an opening cutscene. So when you go through this door, basically you treat it like a room transition, and you have to be ready for the level. Like so. And the way this is going to work is this is again 1P2C. I'm going to show it with, let's go with player 1 first for a bit, and then we'll switch over to player 2. Player 1's job is quite simple. Basically, we need the end goal of standing on this toilet seat here. So what we do is we jump on this toilet seat and use magic on the handle there. And you can see we jump our way across. This is very easy, unless you do that and die. But let's say, for example, you try and go for this jump, but for some reason you don't manage to land on the far jump. Instead of doing this whole thing again, there's a backup we can do, and I might as well show this backup here, because it's quite a useful backup to have. By activating Lumos, standing on the toilet seat, you can then Lumos jump onto the top of this cubicle, and then jump on from there. Just as a note, you can't do this straight away. You have to, at the very least, activate the red wheel first, and then you can choose to do whatever you want with it. But then obviously player 1 lands on the toilet seat. I'll show what player 2 does in the meantime. So in the meantime, player 2 comes over here, collects the hair, which will then be put in the potion, and then comes over here and uses magic on this broom. And this is where you normally land on the toilet seat. So the second part of the 1P2C, if we say that's the first part, this will be the second part. Again, player 1 stuff is a lot more simple. So what player 1 will do is use magic on this to be able to water the plant. The plant will be destroyed, and then Harry can again use magic. We can actually end this build early, so we're going to end it here. And with player 1, we move as far to the right as we can. As it is, player 1 has actually ended up moving right where the next object spawns, which is really useful. At the same time, player 2 will be picking up this wheel and coming down here, putting it on, using it, and probably just as the camera pan starts, we'll have time to pick it up and switch character. And that is part 2 of the 1P2C done. This is quite complicated 1P2C, which is why I'm kind of going through it so slowly. What then happens is we need to put these ingredients in the potion. We've now spawned all 3 and collected one of them. None of them are in the potion yet. So what we do now, player 1 makes their way all the way over to the right and picks up the hair and puts it in. Player 2 picks up the hair, or picks up the apple, sorry, and puts it in. Whichever character puts their item in first will then switch, because it doesn't affect the next room what you finish this room as. You'll always start the next room with the same characters. But player 2 puts the cherries in the potion, and then either character has to press B to drink the potion, and that's what starts the cutscene. Okay, so after that kind of quite difficult room for 1P2C, very simple room now. You're meant to be able to solve a puzzle or something to be able to unlock the door normally, but what you can actually do is do a pet recall. So here's what we're going to do. We run Ron up into this corner, switch Ron to the pet spell, and then Ron turns around and we put the pet down. Nice and simple. Scabbers will then come down here, and you want to position Scabbers basically next to the wall, anywhere along here. It could be down here. It could be along here. As long as basically the recall, the line of the recall will go through the transition, it's absolutely fine. I tend to position Scabbers kind of around this area, and then when you need to, recall the pet, and that finishes the room. And for the last room here, again, very simple room. It does not matter which character you use here, you really only need to use one player. I like to use player 2 because I think player 2 spawns a tiny bit closer, so it's a little bit worth it. But player 2, or either player, will come over here and can use magic from around this area here to be able to get the fish to come over, and then position here for the fish itself, and then position a little bit further left for the skull, and then a little bit further left for the eyes. And that is the end of the level. Once this sequence starts, that is the level itself. Okay, so doing this level again, but this time a little bit faster. Obviously starting with player 1 on Harry, player 2 on Justin Finch Fletchley. Leave the room with Harry, and Lumos jump over here to then head into the next room. That's nice and simple. And then, again, we've got a setup for trophy jump now. What I like to do with trophy jump, I might as well explain this now, is kind of when I get up to the first ledge, I tend to take an extra jump. You can also shortcut with a Lumos jump just there. But yeah, sometimes I just take an extra jump to make sure I'm in place. Just to be 100% sure. Not really necessary in this jump in particular, but for some other jumps it might be. Now, in this room, I'm going to try and get the... Yeah, we got that very nicely, actually. Got the thing with player 1, so that player 2 can move closer. And this is what the 1P2C will look like at full speed. You actually do need to wait a bit with player 1 here. Basically, if you go with player 1 too early, then player 2 won't actually put the broom up in time. And that's really annoying when it happens. Because it kind of messes your 1P2C for part 2 as well. But you see, we were able to go quite far there because Hermione was on good pace and Harry ended the build early. And there we go, that's a potion. This room, need to remember that it's Ron on P1. That's the important thing. It's the only room where Ron is on player 1 rather than Harry. And then the last room, very simple. Yeah, I kind of just try and hold B as I go along here. Kind of hold for a bit, release, hold for a bit again. Because sometimes it could just be a little bit annoying. But then, build the snake, very simple. If you want, you can go for snake jump. Which just means you get on top of the snake. It does absolutely nothing. But you've got a bit of downtime there, so yeah. Some people choose to do that. But yeah, that's the level itself. So thank you very much for watching. A nice short, simple level. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.